Hello everyone and welcome to Free Speech with Mahyar Tousi, a show where once a week we go through the newspapers and find the top news and discuss them with two special guests. Today we are joined by Talk Radio's very own Mike Graham and the conservative activist and very infamous Emily Hewertson. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you very much indeed.
And thanks for
I feel very honoured to be part of your free speech revolution.
Yeah, free speech revolution is here. Absolutely. Good. I'm going to kick it off by actually focusing on the Boris Baby.
Yes.
Happy news.
Congratulations.
Well, not for the left, though.
Well, that's the thing. You think it's happy news. Not really, because you guys seen the reaction on Twitter, right?
I've never seen anything like it. I've literally never seen anything like it. I couldn't believe that normal, rational individuals who would normally be quite sensible and who hold down quite good jobs could actually say the things they were saying. It's like, you know, talk about Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, Boris derangement syndrome is actually now worse, I think.
It's absolutely mental, because I was going through the whole thing, and when the hashtag started, I said, okay, hashtag Boris Baby, there's going to be a couple of odd ones, but there was this constant, very consistent trend of certain tweets about Boris and his past. And you mentioned a tweet by Jess Phillips.
Yeah, so I saw the tweet and I thought, wow, Jess Phillips has said congratulations, what a gracious response. Then you read the second half, and guess what? Classic Jess Phillips. It was all about herself. And once again, for about the 20 billionth time in the last 2 years, she's told all of Twitter that her children only get to go to school 4 times a week, even though it was a story about Boris's, new child. I just don't understand the correlation.
It was ridiculous, because literally it's a congrats to Boris and Carrie, and then second paragraph, what about me and my child?
It's all about her.
Which I presume means that she actually thinks that's okay. She thinks as long as you've said congratulations, that's fine. Still better than AC Grayling, though, who likened Carrie Symonds to a succubus. Now, I don't know how much you know about demonology, but in demonology, a succubus is a sexually crazed ghost of some kind that basically drains the spirit out of men while they're asleep by having sex with them.
Yeah, I mean,
charming.
Absolutely, and it's
just incredible.
It's unnecessary. A lot of people were saying, this was all planned. I'm like, yeah, you have to plan to get the baby. Well done.
It is shocking, because just weeks after this whole hashtag Be Kind campaign, you've got the same people that were tweeting how sad it was and how hate, especially against young women, needs to stop. And then just because it's about a baby with a politician that they dislike, the world's just gone crazy again. And Be Kind is now gone to let's hate on a innocent young female.
Yeah, well, it's
expecting a child.
It is a ridiculous story, and I think hopefully we'll stop.
Yeah.
Well,
and good luck to them.
Absolutely good luck to them. It's
but funny enough, I was having a conversation with one of these sort of numpties on Saturday night who was moaning on and on about how, the most important story is the actual Priti Patel story, and the only reason that this has been announced is to bury the bad news. And I'm going, look, trust me, it's going to work, because tomorrow morning's papers are going to be full of Boris Johnson and the fact that he's going to be a father. And of course, that was what turned out to be the case, because people prefer actually that kind of a story, which you can have a nice picture of the two of them. Most people actually rather like it.
Actually, you made a good point. You mentioned Priti Patel, so maybe we should go to the next story, your story about Priti.
Well, because, I mean, fascinatingly, I thought, I really enjoyed myself at the weekend, because first of all, before the lefties got triggered by Boris's baby announcement, they all got triggered by Sir Phil the Shill, as I call him, Rutnam, who previous to about a week or so ago, nobody had ever heard of, right? This is a guy who makes the point of actually holding a press conference, sends out a press release, which is embargoed, right, makes out that at the £175,000 a year salary, which he has been on for some time, he's some kind of victim. He looked ridiculous, he sounded ridiculous, and in fact he is ridiculous. And so far, all we know is that he says that Priti Patel's a bit rude.
Yeah, she's mean.
Well, good. I'm glad she's rude.
She's a boss.
I think actually all of the kind of arguments point towards sexism, and I hate to use that card, but people are very intimidated by a strong woman that doesn't fit the leftist narrative.
Isn't it a bit odd as well, though? The left are championing the cause of a middle-aged white bloke, right, who's making an absolute fortune, against a woman of colour who would otherwise normally be actually the person they would support.
Emily is right, because for the left, when it comes to identity politics, you're a woman until you become right-wing, or you're a brown person until you become right-wing, then you're no longer a woman.
And then you're not only that, you're no longer a member of the human race.
Well, that's it.
You're basically a monster.
Or that
but I love the way that the papers have done it, because
So what's happening now with this?
Everybody has written stories about how this guy, Sir Philip the Shill, actually isn't very good at his job and hasn't been very good at his job for quite a long time. And let's not forget as well, he's the guy responsible for getting Amber Rudd the sack because he was running the Home Office when Windrush all kicked off. You know, so this is not a guy who's got a great track record of any kind whatsoever. The MPs in Parliament have been calling for all sorts of inquiries. The Labour Party have. It now appears that Michael Gove says there will be an inquiry. Right. Because I'm very suspicious of these kind of broad-ranging accusations where he says that he hasn't witnessed her shouting at anyone or swearing at anyone or asking people to be unreasonable or to do unreasonable things, which presumably in the civil service means working beyond 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
No, no.
You know? So I'll be very interested to see. I don't think he's got grounds for constructive dismissal at all.
You need proper evidence. You can't just randomly say someone shouts at you.
But you know what's going to happen. There'll be an inquiry and nothing will come of it and everyone will call it a whitewash.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the issue we've had with the Home Office, recent history, is that they've shown signs of incompetency. They're absolutely with everything. But they are very good at plotting. They did the same thing with Amber Rudd. And they managed to push her out. And that's what they were trying to do with Pretty. But luckily Downing Street came out and completely defended her.
Well, he's accusing her of launching this campaign against him, which I really don't think she needs to do.
No.
One.
He's launched a campaign against her.
Well, exactly.
The hypocrisy is shocking.
When was the last time you had the civil servant actually doing a press conference on the BBC to resign? We don't do that.
With a member of the BBC holding an umbrella over his head. And also, where
Impressive umbrella holding,
where
to be
does he
fair.
think the stories about her being shunned by MI6 have come from? You know, apparently the papers were reporting only last week that she wasn't trusted by MI5 and MI6. Well, where did they get that from?
Yeah, someone told them that.
Yeah, maybe it was him, Phil the Shill.
Absolutely. So what do we have from Emily?
Right, so I'm going to mix it up a bit.
There we go.
And we all remember the story of the vegan who went to court, and it was actually found that hate laws now cover veganism, which is absolutely
like
crazy within itself. Well, now the new one is the president of I don't actually know the title. I want to say Nudism.
Is it some naturalist society?
Yeah, so it's some naturalist society within the UK.
This is in the Sun, of course, which is where it should be.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine my
I can't believe they haven't done more with it, actually. This is on a single
I know, it's only on a tiny page.
It's the
and I thought it was very
British naturism. British naturism, yeah.
That's the one. But they now feel that nudism should be incorporated within hate laws and people shouldn't be discriminated based on their dress code.
Don't you need
or
a dress?
Lack of dress code.
Yeah, don't you need a dress to have a dress code?
Hilariously, right, I heard this guy speaking to Julie Hartley-Brewer earlier in the week, and he actually said that the core values of nudism have got nothing to do with nudism. And I'm going, right, okay, so so you want to take all your clothes off, but it's not about that. Why would you want to do that?
That sounds creepy.
It does. And also, I mean, they have these weird things where whenever you see like sort of documentaries or kind of holiday pieces about these kind of nudist camps, they're always playing tennis or something. I mean, one of the worst things to do, I would have thought, when you're naked, is to play sport. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. I mean, you know, I don't necessarily want to get into it.
That was not an image I was hoping to think of.
You can catch things, you know, on the net. You know, you can hit yourself with a racket. I mean, I just wouldn't be playing tennis.
It is a bit crazy
in the nude. You
but
know?
I think I know what they mean. That it's not just about getting naked. It's because it's actually more than that, but in a bad way. It's about this woke culture. Because you're a student right now. And so what sort of things you kind of get? You get this woke culture stuff?
Well, yes. So recently, LSE, which is just down the road from my university, has decided to ban beef off of campus.
Brilliant.
But of course, one of the most ridiculous parts of this is as you go outside of the campus, there's a Greggs. So, you know, if anyone does fancy a bit of beef, they can just pop that.
They don't want to eat any beef. They don't mind taking money from Muammar Gaddafi to open up an entire wing of the educational establishment because that works very well for them. But they're a bit late, aren't they, for this? Because Goldsmiths did that last year.
Come on, it's just not woke enough, is it, from them?
Not. I mean, I'm looking for much more wokeness than that. Quicker, please, quicker. But also, you know, it's going to be reversed because people in the end will go, I used to thought going to university was about freedom of choice, actually. I thought that, you know, I would, you know, so it's all right if you, so they want to be able to take your clothes off as long as you don't eat any beef. Is that the thing?
Well, that's the whole issue. But now, I mean, this is very important, obviously, but I think there are a lot of people, ordinary people out there who see through this whole story and they don't, ordinary people just want to live their lives and they don't want to get down with, you know, ridiculous woke culture.
Well,
so
can tell you something, as a father of 4 children, 2 of whom are now grown up, the worst thing in the world that can ever happen to you as a parent is when you're walking around some foreign field and you suddenly find yourself in the middle of a nudist beach without realising that you were going to be there.
Yep.
Particularly if your children are teenagers, because you know they're just literally going, "Oh my God!" And also, there's nobody very good looking. It's not like it's aesthetically very unpleasing.
No page 3
you
girls.
really, you just don't want to be. You're just sort of sitting there like that for the rest of time.
No, yeah, we're not French.
No.
Now, speaking of French, our next story is actually about Brexit.
Yeah.
Finally, Brexit. I know. Do you remember Brexit?
I've forgotten all about that.
So we
I
have
thought Brexit got done, didn't it?
No, that's what we were told. Well, no, we got the negotiations, the trade negotiations starting.
Oh, yeah.
And the French and the EU have now come up with the 4 main strategy points.
Oh, yes.
They are technically demands, but it's the fundamentals. So they want it to be based on free trade, which is fine.
Yeah.
But then the second point is actually about controlling competition. We know what that means.
And does that mean competition outside of the EU?
They basically want us, if we trade with them, they want us not to be competitive. We don't want us to be Singapore on the Thames because they don't want us to be better off. That's the issue, and that's why the third point.
Has Al Capone been put in charge of the EU?
Well, he's been busy apparently. But the third point is even worse. The third point, and the way they phrase it is actually oversight over the deal, a referee over the deal, which means the European Court of Justice.
They want to have a reference point in every deal that we do with anybody else.
Yeah, and not an independent.
That's mad.
What's the point?
They want a very partial and biased court to be the referee between an independent country and the European bloc. And then the fourth point is fisheries. They're obsessed with fisheries. They want our fish.
Right.
And I think this should be the red line. Boris Johnson has already said it's a red line. What's your thinking? Do you think the government will actually be strong?
I think so. I think Boris is quite a principled man when it comes to Brexit, at least. And I do trust him in many ways, especially with Dominic Cummings, who was obviously formerly Vote Leave. But what's very interesting is the French obsession with us not doing well after leaving the EU. Obviously, they don't want other people to see us succeed and flourish and for them to follow. So they're kind of, their guidelines are all centred around the EU flourishing without the UK, and the UK obviously just going downhill.
I'm assuming as well that they're putting themselves in a position that they can retreat from because they don't want to start off with where they want to be, I suppose, right? So they want to say, right, these are all the things we want. And then by the end of the conversation, actually, you've only got one of those four things. And so you'll have to give up the other 3. And I presume that's what's going to happen. I mean, I was talking to somebody about the fisheries the other day, and we actually don't have enough capacity to fish all of the fish in our own waters because we haven't done it for such a long time. Because we gave it away in the 70s, right? So now, I think what we should do is not so much promise that we can't allow them into our waters, but we should just charge them. Just hit them up with an annual fee.
Absolutely.
You want to come into our waters and fish? This is how much it's going
to
cost.
And we can review it every few years.
Why don't we call it?
Until we actually sort out our own.
Why don't we call it 39 billion?
Or 350 million pounds a week.
Yeah, I think that would be fair. We'll review it after 10 years.
Well, these are excuses because the European Union between 2016 and 2019, they seem very strong and stable. They had one position and they stuck to it because we were so weak. But since then, 2020, they keep changing the position every 2 minutes. At one point, they said you can't have your cake and eat it.
Right.
And then they said, we will give you a tailor-made deal. And now they're saying, no fisheries will walk out. And we said, we already said we're walking away.
Also, they don't hold any cards anymore, because we do what we want to do.
Well, we're not a member anymore.
No.
This transition period is temporary.
Yeah.
And they know that,
And Michael Gove has made it quite clear that he wants something done by June, which is not that far away.
That's very
We're already kind of, practically into spring. So, suddenly before you know where you are, we'll be walking away again.
I saw them on the Andrew Marr show, a representative from the European Union, and they seem very keen on an extension, which is to no surprise. It's to no surprise, but I don't think Boris will accept any kind of extension, and then they'll be all a bit stuck.
Well, everyone's trying to play that game. I saw Ed Davey today put out a tweet saying that the coronavirus is so serious that we should get a transition extension. We should get a transition extension in order to deal with coronavirus. I was just like, you're getting desperate, mate. No, you just any reason to get an extension so that you can still claim to represent people in Europe.
That is absolute classic.
Hilarious.
I don't know. What do we have?
Well, coronavirus in general, I think, is the big story because I've seen some confidential material, which I can't disclose, which has come from a friend of mine who works for a big multinational company. They're taking this really seriously. They're absolutely on it. They're telling people there's no more international conferences. If you need to go to a country, we're just cancelling it right now. If you don't feel like you want to come into work, and this is a company that's in all 5 continents. I mean, it's everywhere.
Right.
And so I think we are kind of rather sleepwalking into something here. And I'm not in any way making out that it's a big health risk, because I don't think it's a massive health risk, but I think it's a massive economic risk.
Right.
That things are going to become impossible to get.
Yep.
You know, we've already seen idiots buying multi-packs of, you know, rubber gloves and cleaning products and all sorts of madness. We've seen a lot fewer people travelling on public transport. Planes, I think airlines are going to go out of business.
Yeah, but this is, I think the problem with coronavirus is not necessarily the health risk. It is the overreaction
and the papers
from
don't
humans.
seem to know how to cover it, because on the one hand you've got, you know, headlines like, you know, we'll lock down all the cities of Britain. And you're going, right, okay, that sounds rational, you know. And then they're telling people, well, you can't go to work. We might have to shut the schools like they have in Japan. World Health Organization saying don't go outside if you're over 60. Yeah. I mean, it's mad.
Have they started doing anything at LSE, like, you know, like handshakes? Or
not really. There's lots of emails just saying, like, oh, we're dealing with it. Like, if there's any issues,
this is not a coup.
There's been a lot of, but what I find quite funny, really, is the fact that, you know, Peter Andre seems to be taking this a lot more seriously than the UK government. I don't know if you saw it today, but the management has said no selfies, no physical contact. So I found that quite
I understand that we have to be careful.
It's for Jordan, I suppose, isn't it? But, I mean, I don't know if she hugs him anymore.
But there's a difference between obviously being careful and, you know, you could panic. It's absolutely fine. We have to do something about it.
Yeah.
But there are some irrational moves. For example, when we have the government saying we're going to stop any kind of gathering of, I don't know, 5,000 or something.
Yeah.
What about the tube? You have like hundreds of thousands in there.
Well, also any train coming into London on any given day from any part of the commuter belt, you know, I mean, they're all
Well, just shut down the whole country.
Well, there's no antibacterial wash anywhere that I go to. I just want some hand sanitizer.
Apparently people are selling it on eBay now.
Yeah, but if you look online, they've suddenly shot up in price to like $4.99. I'm a student. I can't justify spending $4.99. I think it'd be cheaper just to get the coronavirus, to be honest.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, in reality, people who are reasonably healthy, reasonably fit, and reasonably young are not in any danger at all. And I wonder actually whether people have had it, because that's the other thing that's been contradictory. Where, you know, at first it was, oh, you know, you have to have a fever. Now they're saying, oh, you don't necessarily have to have had a fever. So you might have even had it.
That's true.
And just, you know, not noticed.
Yeah. But now I do think there's a conspiracy theory behind it. Did China do it on purpose, or?
Well, I mean, I tell you, I blame Greta Thunderbird, because have you seen the state of that map now of the Chinese pollution's disappeared because they've all stopped doing anything. So all you've got to do is shut down all industry for a month.
I would believe that.
The planet's fine.
I would believe that if Greta and her friends were competent. Did you see they had a rally at the green area and they destroyed all the green?
So much for nice green spaces.
Very green, guys. Speaking of woke people.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about Meghan Markle.
Who's that?
I mean, she's got so irrelevant these days. She's so irrelevant these days. But basically, the story is that her manager is now looking, on her request, for a role as a superhero.
Oh, it's because she wants to have a quiet life?
Right, yeah.
That's right.
Exactly. So if anyone was in any doubt that the whole royal family thing was not a massive publicity stunt, I think this is it. You know, this was all to gain her career in the acting world. You know, after what was the thing she was in? I can't even remember now. The TV drama.
Yeah, that's the TV drama that nobody's actually ever seen.
Right,
Nobody's
exactly.
ever seen. I don't know anyone's ever seen it.
Some people
I think her acting career was going a bit dry, so she just decided to marry Prince Harry and cause the royal family absolute havoc.
Yeah.
Right, we're out of time now, but I want to say a huge thank you again to our special guests, Mike Graham and Emily Hewertson. This was Free Speech with Mahyar Tousi, and I'll see you guys next time.